This is a double cab ute, which makes it more Kiwi than Russell Crowe. And that's a terrible example, but either way, my mission today is to find out whether or not this battery-powered ute is yeah or yeah nah. Yep, this is the LDV eT60 electric ute. Okay, first and foremost, how much does it cost and how far does it go per charge? Well, this machine, after the Clean Car rebate, and you heard that right, there's no ute tax here. This thing actually gets a rebate. You're looking at just over $71,000, and for that, you get supposedly 325 Ks per charge. Or do you? I'm going to find that out very soon. In the meantime, however, let me show you this vehicle's features. It's about time New Zealand had an electric ute, but does this one have what it takes for Kiwi conditions? Well, let's start with the electric motor, which is 130 kilowatts, driving its rear 17-inch wheels. This means it has a towing capacity of 1.5 tons and a tray load capacity of 750 kilos, so it's a medium-duty ute. But by climbing onto the back, with the help of its rear step holes, there's plenty of room in the rear tray, being almost 1.5 meters long and wide. Plus, there are cargo hooks in each corner, and while there's plenty of storage in the back, under the hood it's a different story. There's no storage, but as you can see, the motor and inverter sits so low that you could easily chuck in a big container to house your charging cables or your unruly children. Now, I'll show you the interior in a sec, but first there's a couple of interesting things about this ute that deserve a mention. This thing has an 88 kilowatt hour battery. That is a big battery. It's one of the biggest batteries in any vehicle I've tested. The thing is though, it only gets 325 Ks per charge from such a massive battery. I wonder why. The next point of interest, as you'll join me underneath the back of the vehicle, is the electric motor. Check this out. It is an electric motor attached at a 90-degree angle to the diff. What they've done is they've just spun the diff around so it's facing the back and attached the power to this end. And that's kind of brilliant in its simplicity. The question is, what does all this unsprung weight do to the ride quality? Let's look at the interior though, and it has hard-wearing synthetic seats with red stitching, air conditioning and electric windows, 2 cup holders in the center console plus another 2 on the edges, a 10-inch display with good definition and a reversing camera, an adjustable steering wheel although it isn't telescopic, 2 USB points and a 12-volt outlet up the front and 220 volts power in the back. That I like. And in the back, check out that legroom. Seriously, many double cab utes have less seating room than a mosh pit, but not this one. Plus there's good headroom too for passengers of up to around 6.5 feet, and even a fold-down armrest with cup holders. Although while admittedly the PSC could be better, coming in at just 36, overall this ute seems alright, but what's it like to actually drive? Now, I'm no uteologist, but one thing I do know is that Kiwis love utes. The #1 best-selling car last year, Ford Ranger, a ute. The #2 best-selling car last year, Toyota Hilux, a ute. Kiwis love utes. But I've been looking around the ute owners forums, and one thing ute owners do not like is the price of fuel. So what if you could have a ute that doesn't use any? Well, this is one of them. Okay, now let's unzip the fly of statistics and look at some facts and figures, starting with the screen size, and that is a girthy 10 inches. However, despite that big size, it doesn't have all the functionality you'd like. It has basically only stereo controls, Bluetooth controls, and it doesn't even have Android Auto, although it does have a thing called QD Link, which is basically just screen mirroring. And I used this when I took the LDV MIFA 9 for a drive, and it works okay, but Android Auto is better, although it does have Apple CarPlay, so that's got that going for it. As you would expect in this price point, this car has quite a few creature comforts. It has air conditioning, which works a treat, and that's good because it's a roasting hot day, and the interior being all black means that it gets hot really fast. It also has electric windows and all 4 windows, electric front seats, both of them, and electric mirrors, and it has a reversing camera with relatively decent definition. This electric ute also has ABS brakes, as you'd expect. It has electronic stability control, brake force distribution, emergency brake assist, hill start assist as well, and hill descent control, which I can press on and off from a little button in the center console. And of course it has an electronic stability program from none other than Bosch. Not bad. However, one thing this vehicle does not have is adjustable regenerative braking. I don't have any modes to choose from which would allow me to increase the amount of regeneration going back into the battery when I decelerate. So it's just one size fits all. Although I do have power modes. I've got Eco to maximize the range, normal and power. And if I put it into power mode, It doesn't turn it into a raging beast of a thing, but it does give me that 130 kilowatts anytime I want it. I'll give you a demo when I do a 0 to 100 time in the countryside. The thing is, all this stuff's really fun and interesting, but I'm kind of wasting your time because I'm driving a ute in Auckland City, and if there's one thing I've learned from Facebook and YouTube comments whenever the subject of electric utes comes up, is that utes are only for farmers and tradespeople. Or are they? Well, let's find out. I'm here on Broadway, Newmarket. This is the part of Auckland where people with money and status come to see and be seen. This is not the place for utes, right? They're all on job sites, sand and farms. Or are they? This is the part of the video where it gets interactive. You can play along at home, place your bets. How many utes will I see in 1 hour? 0, 5, 15 or 20? Let's start the clock. Over the course of an hour in one of the least likely streets in Auckland, I counted no fewer than 71 utes, with most appearing to be empty. It almost seemed that for every Ferrari or Jaguar there was a ute being used as family cars in the city, and with that, here's some family-friendly stats. And the LDV eT60 has 2 ISOFIX locations on the rear seat, which is 128 centimeters wide, perfect for enormous toddlers. As for the driver's seat, at its lowest height setting, it's a comfortable 87 centimeters off the ground. However, being a ute, the gap between the seat, the dorsal and the side step is so big, I think it's actually mentioned in the Bible, somewhere in the front. Now, this vehicle has a 5-year, 130,000k warranty, which is good. However, the battery alone has an 8-year or 160,000k warranty, which is one of the longest battery warranties of any EV currently on the market. And speaking of the battery, even though this ute sits high on the road, the battery pack underneath it only has around 21 centimeters of ground clearance, about the same as a regular crossover vehicle, so keep that in mind on the job site. And speaking of job sites, can this medium-duty ute actually fit a pallet of product in the real world? Well, to find out, this is a pallet full of tomatoes from Curious Croppers. It's about 150 kilos. It's standard pallet size. Let's load it up. Easy. Look at that, fits in perfectly. Heaps of room still. Now, one complaint I have about this vehicle is that I found the noise generator, which plays a sound under 30 k's an hour so that vision impaired people can hear it, is a little loud and drony. And regarding noise, I had low expectations for the sound system in the eT60, but as you can hear, it actually sounds pretty good. And on the subject of sound while driving, I found out that it's unusually quiet on our coarse chip roads at 100 k's an hour, measuring in at just 70 decibels. But let's get back to the road and take a closer look at Regen braking strength. Next experiment I want to do is test the Regen braking. How strong is it? Now, I've played around watching the ammeter on the dashboard, and there's no difference between power and economy mode in terms of Regen. Seems to make no difference at all. You still get the same Regen, which I would consider to be medium light. Let's see how long it takes though to get from 50 k's an hour down to 10. So let me slow my speed down. All right, I've got it set at 50. Here we go, taking my foot off the accelerator now. Okay, so that's some pretty weak Regen. Another thing to be checked is whether or not it works okay off the road. Obviously it's a city ute, it's a regular medium duty ute, but the guys at LDV, they did actually suggest that I try this driving it on grass because they reckon the diff is pretty good in this thing. I'm gonna put my foot down on this grass here, okay, and see if we can get it to maintain control. Oh, geez, that's all right. Not bad. It felt like the traction control was grabbing each wheel independently, so even though it is two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, it's pretty smart. And while I'm down at this speed, I might as well stop. I've got the road to myself, it's empty, and check the 0 to 100 time. Now, I'm not expecting amazing things because this does weigh more than a wet duvet. It is 2.2 tons, but enough talk. It's in power mode, there's no launch control, so let's just do it. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, half a second for the power to kick in, but that surges away nicely. That's not bad. 130 kilowatts, 310 newton meters of torque, but 2.2 tons. right, and 100. One thing that I haven't been able to really test yet though is the handling, and I am very close to my top secret driving road, so it would be an absolute sin to not use it, because we're right here. I'm not expecting amazing things from a Ute. Let's give it a go, see how it handles. All right, here's some corners, let's give it a go. Oh wow, first thing you notice is the steering's really light. The power steering is stupidly light, great for cities, but you don't have a lot of feedback when you're throwing it into corners. The next thing you notice is that center of gravity. For such a high, big vehicle, it's really low. The battery pack is about 20 centimeters off the ground. It's really quite impressive. And the other thing you notice is that the suspension's quite firm, very firm. So you're feeling every bump, sure, but it means you've got very little body roll. It's interesting. It's a workhorse vehicle. It's simple. It's bare bones. It's honest. It does what it says on the tin. But at the same time, that low center of gravity and that hard suspension makes it feel like it's something it's not. It makes it feel sportier than it is. It could do with a little more power. When you get near 100, that power dissipates. But then you don't have to worry about that if you're in Auckland City, because when was the last time you got up to 100? Oh, here's a strong corner. Here we go. Oh, look at that. Can feel a little bit of roll on the tires, but nothing else. That's insane. I cannot believe I'm driving a Ute. And I just did that corner at 90 effortlessly. This is fun. I've driven the diesel version of this, and because it's diesel, the power band is all over the place, and it's so unfulfilling to drive. But the electric version, this one, it's fun. Oh man, I kind of want one of these now. This is silly. I can't believe I'm doing this in a Ute. Oh, what a great road. What an absolutely sublime slice of tarmac. Oh, far out. Okay, that was an absolutely pointless little bit of video, but I had fun and that's all that matters. Okay, so we've established that yes, it does have quite a harsh ride, but that works in its favor when you're chucking it into corners. That's where that firm suspension comes into its own. All right, that's done. Now we need to talk about something a little bit more serious, and it's charging. And of course you have options. You can use this, the granny charger or emergency charger that comes with your car. However, it's slow. It's for very slow emergencies, because using one of these to fill up the tank on this would take about 2 days. That's why I recommend anyone that's looking at getting an electric car, get yourself one of these. It's a wall-mounted 7 kilowatt charger, probably looking at about $2,000 or so, give or take, depending on how easy or hard the install is in your house. But it's a good investment because it would charge a vehicle like this from flat to full in about 12 hours or overnight. However, there is another faster option, and that faster option is this. It's called DC charging, and this is one of the very many DC chargers that ChargeNet has installed all around New Zealand. Seriously, there are hundreds of them, and there's more going in every month. To use one of these things is pretty straightforward. First of all, just grab the handle, plug in your car, and then you can use either your key fob or the mobile app, and you press start. And the car is now charging on this 50 kilowatt DC rapid charger. 50 kilowatts, that means it's going to take about 45 minutes to get this car from, say, 20% to 80% full. However, there is an even faster way. And this is it. This is called a hyper rapid charger. And there are two of these things, and what's most interesting about it is that both of these can deliver 300 kilowatts each, and both can charge 3 vehicles at once. Using it is just as easy as before. Swipe your key fob or use your mobile app. Select your plug type. We know this one is CCS, the most common plug shape. And you grab the one that's flashing, plug it in, and the car does the rest. All right, now this beast is hyper rapid charging. I can quickly tell you about the electricity flowing down that pipe. It is from none other than Ecotricity. That's right, ChargeNet's rapid chargers all across the country use Ecotricity electricity because it is carbon zero certified. That means only wind, hydro, and solar, and nothing else. In fact, this whole journey, charging at home as well, that's Ecotricity's power as well, because I use them because I'm a tightwad, and even though it's eco-friendly power, it's still really affordable, seriously competitive. So head to ecotricity.co.nz, put your address into the little boxy thing there, and see how much money and carbon you can save. All right, we're at 80% full. Now we started at 10% full. Normally I prefer to start at 20, but we started really empty, so it's taken 45 minutes to reach that. Realistically, from 20% to 80%, probably more like 37 minutes or so. All right, so that's all your charging options taken care of. Now, as promised at the start of the video, I want to look at the battery and the range. The only way to find out if that 325 k's per charge is accurate is to take it on a long distance trip. Let's go. And good very early morning to you. I am on a mission today. It's a big trip, it's an audacious mission because I am going to single-handedly end world hunger in New Zealand. Very briefly. By going to pick up a special consignment in Northland. My mission today is to drive from here in Onehunga, Auckland, all the way up to a small town called Ruawai to pick up a special consignment and then head all the way back into Auckland City to pick up another special consignment and then all the way into Auckland Central to drop them off. But I'm going to work this thing hard. Let's go. Obviously I'm starting in Auckland, which means Auckland traffic, which is keeping my speed down, which is resulting in improved efficiency. Now, in the city, I tend to be using around 22 units of electricity per 100k, 22 kilowatt hours. That means that if I use my little range slidey guesstimator thing, that should give me in the city about 400 k's of real world driving. However, all that changes when I get into the open road. Because on the open road, when you're getting 90, 100 k's an hour in this thing, it is really thirsty. It drinks those electrons down. It does use about 27 kilowatt hours per 100k. And that's really, really high. And that's largely because it has the aerodynamics of a billboard. But that's a pickup truck for you. That's a ute. They are not aerodynamic things. People drive them for status and utility, not for efficiency. But at least this thing is not running on petro fuels. So as we enter this tunnel, no extraction fans are needed to clear the air from this vehicle. This electric ute ate up the 150 k's to Ruawai effortlessly, with my only critique being the occasional jiggle from the unsprung weight on the motor on the rear diff. If you pay attention, you can feel it when going over sharp bumps like railway tracks, although on smooth city streets this would not be a deal breaker for most. Alright, welcome to Ruawai in Northland, and somewhere around here is my special pickup location. Here it is. Wait till you see what I've got in store.
We've got some orange kumara here for you today, Gavin.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so
more
of a processing grade, but really nice and easy to peel and tastes delicious at this time of the year. It's all harvested by hand. They use machinery to make the job happen, but basically it's a lot of it's done by hand, so a lot of manual labour involved with it. A lot of it's done on size, but also on faults, like skin faults. A very labour intensive crop, but they've got to be handled very carefully, unlike potatoes and carrots.
Yeah.
They like to be handled nice and gently, so yeah. There goes your 105 odd kilos of kumara, ready for the journey to Auckland.
Alright, that is going to feed a lot of people, make a lot of families happy. Anthony, I can't thank you enough, and Kaipara Kumara, thank you very much.
No worries, and great to meet you, Gavin, and safe travels, and yeah, it's been our pleasure, mate, anytime.
Alright, let's hit the road. I made my way back to Auckland with the precious cargo in the back. However, eventually I was going to have to make a pit stop. Situation update. The vehicle's running fine. We've now done just over 200 kilometres now, and it says we still have 168 k's to go. So that means that you're going to get well over that 325 k's per charge if you're driving it not too crazily. Now, I've not been speeding, but I have been running the air conditioning and we've been going up at speed, big hills and things like that. So it'll get to Auckland, no worries, but I won't, because I need to use the bathroom and I haven't had any coffee, and I've been going since 6:30 and it's almost 10:30 now. Yeah, I need a break. So what I'm going to do is stop. I know there's a cafe about 10 minutes from here. I'm going to stop, grab a coffee, grab a bite to eat. In that time I will plug the vehicle in. However, it's not going to be charging for any longer than it takes for me to use the Felicities and buy a cup of coffee. If it only charges for 3 minutes, it only charges for 3 minutes. This car's being worked hard today. It's being worked realistically. Okay, let's get this beast charged up. Oh, I'm looking forward to that coffee. I grabbed myself a pie and a cup of coffee, and while I scoffed those two down quickly, I looked at my charging status on the ChargeNet mobile app, and after using the Felicities and scoffing at the price of fuel, I jumped back in the vehicle and hit the road. Alright, clock is ticking. Put that in the cup holder. Let's hit the road. Right, I've got my coffee. The car's been charging for about 12 minutes or so. We're up to 67% charge, which says we've got 286 k's of range left now, which is great because now I've got to go from here in Kaiwaka all the way down to Mangere to pick up another consignment of donated goods, and then We're heading into the city centre to the Auckland City Mission, all before it closes at 3 p.m, and it is now 11. And the traffic, according to Google, is gonna be bad.
I got my spuds a little moist, but before long I was crossing the Auckland Harbour Bridge, bypassing most of the traffic to make it down to Mangere to pick up my next consignment.
We are just about at the next pickup location. This should be interesting. This should be really interesting. Check this out. I'm wearing a reflective vest now, which means I'm behind the secret gates at my food bag. I am now waiting for some food, which I'm going to take to the City Mission along with the Kumara. And I think this person here on the forklift is bringing my goodies. I don't know how much stuff is actually... Oh, good Lord, is that for me? Holy cow. Oh, crikey, I hope I got enough room. Let's have a look. Okay, all right, how am I gonna do this? Sorry, this wasn't in your daily job description, I'm sure. All right, and we are off, and already, now that I've got about 200 kilos of food in the back, the ride is delightful. This thing really suits being loaded down. Gosh, that's smooth. All right, my mission is to take this to the City Mission, to end world hunger in New Zealand briefly.
With more than 300 Ks under my belt and with 200 kilos of produce in the back, I made my way into Auckland Central to drop off my precious cargo.
All right, we're on the motorway. We are heading into Auckland Central with a literal tray load of delicious, nutritious food on the back of there. Thank you, Kaipara Kumara. Thank you, my food bag. You guys are all awesome. This is brilliant. This is the Kiwi spirit. And this whole thing, the entire trip, renewable electricity powering this vehicle. Does it get any more Kiwi than a ute running on renewable electricity? This is brilliant. I love living in the future. 336 kilometres it's now just clocked over. We've been going since 6:30, it's now 1:30. This vehicle has worked effortlessly. It's earned its keep, and we're doing something that actually feels really good right now. This is great.
A small army of people helped to unload the almost 200 kilograms of delicious kai from both Kaipara Kumara and my food bag, destined to fill the bellies of people in need. And with my Karma tank filled up and yet still having about 20% range remaining after almost 365 kilometres in one day, it was time to drop off the crates I'd borrowed to my food bag and head back to the dealership to hand over the keys to the electric LDV eT60.
Well, now that we've clocked over 360 Ks traveled today and the video's almost over, I should give you some sort of summary of my experience in this beast. And I didn't really know what to expect when I was getting behind the wheel because I'm not really a ute fan. I never saw the point of them in cities because they're big and hard to park and all that. But having driven this for 5 days, I think I kind of get it now. You're up high, you've got a commanding view, you've got a sense of security, you've got all that utility in the back. And it just feels kind of masculine. It feels good, you know, it feels empowering. I understand if you buy a ute now, I kind of get it. It feels good, I like it. That being said, this is the thirstiest electric vehicle I've ever driven, 27 kilowatt hours per 100K. I've done about 362 kilometers, but if I had traveled with a maximum speed of say 80, 85, then I think I could have done this entire day on one charge. But I mean, I had to stop anyway and there was a charger there. That's what you would do as well, you'd just charge if it's there. But if you were to charge at home, you're looking realistically, for a full charge on one of these beasties, about $16. $16. I know how much it costs to fill a diesel pickup truck, a diesel ute. They are not cheap to operate. And if you're burning through, say, a tank a week, as many tradespeople are, then that's a lot of money down the tube, a lot of carbon in the atmosphere, a lot of emissions that we're all breathing. Although the XLT Ford Ranger, the double cab 2-litre turbo diesel, that is 14 grand cheaper than this. However, well, if you're burning through a tank a week of fuel, as many of you tradies watching this, some of you guys are doing that, then that's realistically 2 years, maybe 3 years worth of fuel. So in 2 or 3 years, if you bought an electric one instead, you can't argue with economics. You'll be laughing all the way to the bank, or the job site, or the farm, or as we found out, Newmarket.